The Shadow Systems MR920 Elite. Are these things better than Glocks? One thing I can tell you is she definitely runs, but we're gonna put this thing to the test.
Ooh, damn! She works hard for her money. That's on camera. Shit. Do I got ammo? Yes, I got ammo. All right, so before we get to the shooting action, remember anytime you are out on the range, you need to have a medical kit with you. I carry one everywhere. This is from Live the Creed, awesome company, all emergency services personnel. They know what you need. Check these out in the link in the description below. Let's get down with some range footage.
Well, that is just a lot of peanut butter out there on the range. And I gotta say, since this is a loaner from a good buddy of mine, Ryan, thank you very much. It definitely left me a little bit jelly out there on the range because this is not mine. But still the question asked, is this better than Glock and why? Because if you don't know, this is 100% how this comes from the factory as you see it right here. It draws its lineage from Glock, but it has changed a lot of things that people that own Glocks turn to the aftermarket for. All right, the Shadow Systems MR920 Elite with included Holosun 507C. Let's go ahead and talk about what this thing comes with. Obviously, you're gonna get your pistol and then what comes in the actual box and the case. Before we go any further though, make sure you guys get subbed up, get belled up, turn those notifications to all on, give the video a like if you dig what's going on, and of course, what are your experiences with Shadow Systems, or would you like to experience Shadow Systems, or do you want to see something besides Shadow Systems? Let me know. So this is going to come in a cardboard box. Basically, you're going to get your nylon carrying case, Shadow Systems logo and letters. You're going to get a couple of PMags, your pistol, and then you're going to get the basics. You're going to get your manual right here. You're going to get a warranty card, a sticker. You're going to get a lock, some Loctite, your plate cover, different screws and spacers so you can put different optics on there. But like I said, this one came with the Holosun from the factory. So we'll put that aside and we will go deeper into the 920 itself, talking about the basic specs. So this is a Glock clone, draws its lineage from Glock. It is a 9mm in a striker fired polymer frame, stainless steel slide configuration, 20.9 ounces on the Elite model, 7¼ inches in total length, 4¾ inches tall, 17.4 stainless steel slide, 416R stainless steel barrel. So those are going to be your basic kind of specs on this thing. But let's tear this thing down and talk about how this thing comes, what is different. The biggest difference with the Shadow System stuff is going to be a reduced grip angle. Not quite 1911, more like a SIG grip angle, I think, but it's definitely flatter, so you don't have that aggressive angle that causes you to force your wrist down and forward. You're gonna get a factory mag well with this. It will work with either the PMags like it came with, or your factory Glock mags, no problem at all. You're gonna have a couple of different interchangeable back straps should you be into it. And this is a Gen 4 clone, so you'll notice it has a Gen 4 safety. Coming up from there, you're gonna see that great sandpaper texture, and they've put it everywhere. I love it when they put it all over like that because it gives you more grip, more texture. You're gonna see under that trigger guard right there, nice double undercut, very nicely smoothed off all the way around there. Tiny bit of a hard edge right here. And then it's got that nice finished beveled glove bevel right here. Very well done. Definitely could have used an extended control, but the factory one on there is fine. It's got that little edge in there so you don't activate it on accident. That Shadow Systems logo, you can see it's a 3-pin design in here. Custom Shadow Systems trigger, takedown lever. At the end, you've got these nice ledges right here with, again, that deep sandpaper texture right there, which is awesome, and a single slot accessory rail. And this one is the traditional Glock size. It is not the 1913 or Picatinny rail size, traditional Glock size there. Coming onto this side, you're gonna see just a basic mirror of the other side. Also in here, you're gonna see a much larger beaver tail right there. A little bit more extended is gonna help you out controlling that recoil impulse. Moving up into that slide, you can see we got some nice slide work going on here. We've got those deep serrations on the rear, on the front, some nice depressions in there. Again, MR920, Shadow Systems logo, very cleanly done. Kind of like a dual window depression in here. You can kind of see nicely done. Chamfered off pretty well for holstering and unholstering. These are built to run hard. Got serrations across the top right there. Very well done. You can see this side, mirror edge of the other. We do have taller sights on here. They're not suppressor height, they are mid height, and they are Ameriglow. And you can see they are the bold front and darked out rear. I love that. One of the coolest things about the slide is it kind of has a kind of canted forward and then a serrated rear cover to help with any glare if the sun's behind you. So very well done, very, very well thought out. Now let's go ahead and check this trigger out. So this is a much more of a flatter face design trigger, but there is a slight curvature to it. So overall, very, very nice. Let's check out your pull. You're gonna meet a good wall right there. Tiny bit of creep and a break. Reset, tiny bit of creep and a break. So whatever connector and trigger shoe and everything that they've put together here in the package is very well done. Again, one more look at the minimal creep here and it breaks. So Glock triggers are known for having some decent creep from the factory. This, it's a full custom setup right out of the box. So let's go ahead and get the trigger gauge and do some pulls on this thing. All right, so let's go ahead and do some trigger pulls. This is the factory connector in here from Shadow Systems. I'll do my best to keep this exactly in the same place each time. So we got just a hair over 5, so about 5 pounds, a little over 5 pounds and 6 ounces maybe, which is pretty much what it feels like, but it's got a really clean break. It's not ultra light, but it's not really built to be ultra light. So that one right there, close to 5.5. Last one, unless we come up with something really weird here. Right there again, just about 5.5. So pretty consistent. Overall, feels great. As far as your takedown goes, same as a Glock. You depress that trigger, everything in here is Glock clone, except you get a stainless steel guide rod and you just get better internals to make this thing run and feel better. So this one's got a good amount of rounds through it. I will do a follow-up once we get a lot more rounds through it, probably around the 2,000-3,000 mark. But overall, that is it for the specs and options on this thing. So let's talk about the cost of this thing, the reliability. Is this a positive value for it, since this one came with the optic and everything right out of the box compared to doing something yourself? That's just a lot of good stuff right there. So my favorite thing about this is just the angles. Every time I press this out, it seems to be just exactly where I need it. From that less aggressive grip, those reference points up front, it just gives me a lot of what I want. A little bit of an extended beaver tail in the back, helps you mitigate that recoil impulse. It fixes a lot of the things that people just don't like about the Glock angles or the way the frame feels. Even those back straps or that weird Glock hump that Glock has down at the bottom. Now, there are people that say that's made like that for a reason. If you lock your wrists out, you can actually shoot better and faster. Well, that's up to interpretation. If something doesn't work with the angles of your wrist, it's probably never gonna work with the angles of your wrist. And that's kind of where companies like Shadow Systems have drawn some of that from Glock, but made things a little bit better. You know, the first couple rounds out there for me on the MR920, I did a burst, then I did like that delayed reload because I was just kind of like, wow, that really feels good. And I looked down like, oh wait, I'm empty. And kind of did that delayed reload right here.
I didn't know I was out of ammo.
Now, I have had the opportunity to shoot the Shadow Systems before when I was at SHOT Show in 2019, but it was just like one mag. I didn't really get a chance to do anything because it was out at the range day event. So getting to actually run this thing out there from a holster, do some drills on it, and just get a really good feel for it. Let's talk about that performance here. So hands down, out of the box, one of the best performing pistols I have run in a very long time. And there's a couple different reasons for that. One, for me, it was just extremely natural. Everything from how it pressed out, to the way the frame felt, to the angles of it, it just seemed to be right there when I needed it to be. The reliability of it was definitely on point. Now, Shadow Systems does say there's a couple 100-round break-in process. My buddy has, I think, a little bit over 1,000 rounds on this thing already, so it's got a well-seasoned use of rounds through it. And then I put a few hundred more through it for him just to make sure things were good to go. But I had zero problems, and it just absolutely felt great out on the range. It just literally gives you everything a Glock should give you from the factory at a reasonable price point. And talking about that price point, the way that this one sits, I don't know exactly what he paid for it because he lost his receipt. But there are the options to buy this one as it sits right here. And I wanna say they were right at like $1,159 or $1,200 because the MR920 Elite without the optic is like $989 when I looked it up. You add in the Hollow Sun 507C, which this one did come with, and you're gonna be right at that like 12 or 1100-ish mark. So if I'm wrong on that, I apologize, but he doesn't have his original receipt. And from what I saw, it was right in that price point. Which leads us into the question is that worth it? Is $1,100 with an optic or $989 without an optic and just an optics ready slide worth it? Do the math on it yourself, right? You go and you buy a Gen 5 or Gen 4 Glock MOS, you throw a trigger in it, you throw a magwell on it, and you get slide work done on it and buy your optic, you're probably going to be well over $1,500, if not more. So I'm gonna say when you do the simple math and you be realistic with yourself, this one's probably gonna take the cake than building your own. Now, there are ways you can do things cheaper, but take into account the quality of the parts you're using, the quality of the machine work, and all those things into account. If you throw a $59 Amazon optic on there, you can't really compare it to a $300 Hollow Sun 507C with what appears to be anywhere from about $250 to $300 worth of slide work from the factory, which also means you get a factory warranty, which is going to cover every single piece of this, from the magwell to the muzzle, or from the feeder to the spitter, like I like to say, and the optic. So not wanting this to seem like a puff piece, even though I really do enjoy the MR920, I had to really dig, but there is one thing where I think they got it wrong. And that one thing is going to be the trigger shoe safety on there. It just doesn't go sub flush. So just ever so slight amount of that trigger is still above the actual trigger shoe itself. Now, I know my understanding is they did that for a reason, to ensure that you get a very positive engagement with your finger and ensure that that trigger shoe safety is depressed. Me personally, I like a flat face trigger where that safety goes completely flush. That may be a little bit of a personal preference thing, but I have heard more than one person say, God, I wish they had just made a flush fit trigger shoe safety. So it appears to be that it's not only me, it's other people out there. And I would say that is the one thing I would definitely change about the MR920. And that would take it to the level of where I probably would never change anything on it. With all of that taken into account, this thing is an absolute range hammer. I think if you are into the Glock platform or Glock clones or anything like that, or even other striker fired polymer pistols, this is definitely one to look at, especially in that price point, for everything you get from the factory warranty right out of the box. It's just an exceptional value when you put everything together. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, because that is what I've got for you today on the Shadow Systems MR920. Make sure you guys get subbed up, get belled up. Leave me a comment. Have you had a chance to run one of these or play with it in the store? Because like I said, the first experience I had didn't leave a lasting impression, but when I got a couple hundred rounds out on the range, I was definitely impressed. So let me know in the comments down below. Give the video a like if you thought it was good. And of course, bell, sub, all the good stuff like I already said. You guys get out there and have some fun on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you guys on the next one.
She works hard for money. That's on camera. Shit.